I like.
Okay. So we'll just begin in a seated position. Now, just checking that you can all hear me and you can all see me okay? Good. Okay, thank you. So it's our first yoga for 2021. We haven't, you may be feeling a little bit like you're a bit stiff because we haven't done anything for a couple of weeks. So today, let's just settle into our beautiful yoga studios in our homes and just arrive into your space. You might like to soften your eyes and taking some nice deep breaths, tuning back into your center. On each inhalation, think of it as you're arriving. So each inhalation is an arrival. Just tuning into your breath as you're breathing in, arriving, feeling your chest expand, and as you exhale, feeling the chest contract. Just coming in and looking into your third eye. Checking through your body, just checking in, seeing how you're feeling. Let's set an intention for our practice today to surrender. I have a beautiful quote from Rumi about surrender. Yoga is a dance between control and surrender, between pushing and letting go, and when to push and when to let go becomes part of the creative process and part of an open-ended exploration of your being. So as you go through your practice today, thinking about surrendering, you've already done the hardest part of the practice today, which is arriving and being here and leaving behind all the busyness from your morning, giving time for yourself. Today's practice is going to be heart opening and also some gentle hip opening. So as you move through, just feeling and connecting, and remember that you can always rest. You can go into child's pose or into savasana and just take your time. This is your first one back for the year. So let's come into a standing position. So coming into standing and bringing your hands to your heart center. Feeling your feet on the mat, opening up through the toes, gently moving in a little circular direction, feeling the anchor points under your feet. Just moving your hips in a circle, coming back to your breathing, and then taking the circle in the other direction. And then coming back to center, and we're going to inhale and lift our arms, stretching up to the ceiling. And we're going to exhale, fold forward. You can bend your knees slightly, using your hands to press against your legs to cushion any stretch through the lower back and the back of the legs. Just coming into the forward bend, just again moving your hands in like an affinity, like a figure 8 movement. Letting your head fall heavy and letting your chest fall heavy. Starting to warm up through the lower back and the back of your legs. And as we inhale, coming back up, slight bend in your knees, using the power in your legs to come all the way back up. And then exhaling, folding forward. Placing your fingertips on the mat and lengthening out through your spine. And then on your next inhalation, coming all the way back up and moving your body from side to side, stretching through the side of our body. And then moving our arms in a nice circle, loosening through the shoulders and through the neck. Making sure you've got enough room where you are. And bring your hands back the other way. And then moving from side to side through the waist. You might have cactus arms if you don't have a lot of room, or if you've got a lot of room, you can reach out. And then coming back, bringing your left hand across the front of your body and your right hand underneath. Just giving it a nice stretch through your shoulder. And then take it to the other side. Nice. And then let's take our feet a little wider and bring our arms out to the side. Taking a deep breath in, stretching out through the fingertips and bringing your shoulder blades together. And then exhale as you fold forward and bringing your hands down to the right foot. Now you may have a block here and you might like to place your right hand on the block and left hand up towards the sky. It's coming into triangle pose. If you feel that you need to, you can actually take the block on the end as well to lift your chest up a little more. So getting a nice stretch through the chest and the upper back, looking up towards the left hand. And then exhale, bring it back down to the mat and take your hands over to the right side. This time placing the left hand on the block and the right hand, bring it up towards the ceiling and taking your eyes with it. Just taking some nice deep breaths here and really twisting through that upper back. Connecting with a stretch down the back of your left leg. And then exhale, bring the hands back down to the mat. And from here, we're going to heel toe our feet out a little wider. And we can either bring your hands down flat onto the mat. You can bring them onto a block if you wish. And just bring your crown of your head facing down towards the mat. And let's stay down here for a few breaths. You can take your block into lengthways so you've got a little bit of support on your crown if you want. Just taking some nice deep breaths here and feeling that stretch down the back of the legs. Coming into this surrender position. Noticing as you inhale the chest expanding and a big exhalation as you let go of all that you don't need. Surrendering into the practice, coming into your breath. And then inhale, lift your head and lengthen out through the spine. Walking your hands a little closer together and walking your legs a little closer. And coming back up to standing position. Good. Just give your body a little bit of a shake here. And we're going to come down to the mat and we're going to come into child's pose. Taking our legs, our knees nice and wide and our feet together. So lifting up through the chest and walk your hands forward. And you might like to put your block down underneath your forehead, give you a little more support, and reaching forward with your hands, stretching through the shoulders and stretching through the lower back and coming back to your breath, connecting with the rise and the fall of your chest and surrendering into your practice. Stretching through the body. Let's take 2 more breaths here. And then bring your knees underneath your hips and coming into the tabletop. Opening out through the hands. And we'll give our spine a little bit of flexion. So we're going to inhale, lift our chest and lift our gaze. Nice curve through the spine. And exhale, bringing your spine up towards the ceiling, up like the Sydney Harbour Bridge. And tuck your head down, looking back through your knees towards your feet. And just continue on. Just inhale as you raise your gaze and raise your chest. And exhale as you take your gaze down and bring your spine up. Just feeling your body connecting with the stretch. Thinking of your spine, vertebrae by vertebrae, as you move it from flexion in and out. Think of your neck as part of the spine, so lengthening out through the neck and the head. Giving your neck a nice stretch on exhalation. And just moving your body in a little circle, connecting with the earth. Just doing what feels good for your body today. And then from here, we're going to take our hands a little bit forward and we're going to come into a plank position. So bring your feet back and come into either straight legs, or you can have your knees on the mat into a half plank. And from here, we're going to slowly lower our body down to the mat and come into cobra position. So we've got our 4 hands on the mat and we're going to inhale, lift up and bring our shoulders back, squeezing through our butt cheeks, the top of our feet on the mat. And then exhale, let it fall down, just relax. Deep breath in, inhale, raise your chest, raise your gaze, lifting your heart, squeezing through the butt. And let's go 1 more of these. And then tucking your toes under, we're going to go from here, drag our hands back towards our hips a little and coming up into our first downward dog for today. So coming into your downward dog, lengthening your heels, stretching through the back of your legs, just walking them from side to side, noticing the stretch through the shoulders. And from here, we're going to walk our feet forward and come back up to standing position. How's everybody going? Okay, all good? Good. Okay, so from this one, we're going to go into to the front of our mat. We're going to inhale, lift up. And exhale, fold forward. And then we're going to step back into our, into a downward dog. And then we're going to bring our knees down to the mat and roll our feet over so the top of our feet are on the mat into an upward dog. And then bring our feet forward, tuck our toes under into downward dog. Gazing through to our toes. And then inhale, come back up into upward dog. So just continue on with a few more rounds. Stretching and lengthening through our spine. Letting your breath guide the movements. And doing what feels right for you. At any point, you can have a rest. And then on our next downward dog, we're going to walk our feet forward into a standing position. And coming to the top of the mat. Starting to warm up a little bit now. We're going to do 2 rounds of our sun salute. Inhale, lifting our arms up. Stretching and lengthening. And exhaling, folding forward. Inhale, lift and lengthen the spine. And exhale, step back into plank. You can drop your knees if you like, slowly lowering your body to the mat. Flip your feet over so the top of your feet are on the mat. Inhale, lift up into upward dog. Tuck your toes under and exhale to downward dog. Take your gaze forward and then step forward into forward bend. Inhale, lift and lengthen the spine. And exhale, hug your chest into your legs. Bring the forehead towards the knees. And then inhale, slight bend of the knees, coming all the way back up. And bring your hands to heart center. Good work. Let's go one more. You might need to go a little more forward on your mat. Inhale, lift up. Stretch up through the fingertips. And exhale, folding forward. Inhale, lift and lengthen the spine. And exhale, step back into plank. You can drop your knees if you wish and slowly lowering your body to the mat. Flip over your feet so the top of your feet are on the mat. Inhale, lift up through the chest into an upward dog. Feel that stretch through the front of the body. Tuck your toes under and then come into downward dog. Just take a breath or two here. And then looking forward towards your hands and step forward into forward bend. Just feel that stretch through the back of your legs and your body. Inhale, lift and lengthen your spine. Exhale, hug your chest into your legs. Bring the crown towards your knees. Slight bend in your knees. Inhale, come all the way back up to standing. And back to heart center. Nice work. Right, let's do a little bit of balancing next. So we'll do tree pose today. Let's start with the right foot down, and I want you to spread the right toes and just moving your body in a little circle, feeling the ankle points at your heel and the outside of your foot and behind your big toe. And find a nice drishti point, just a few meters in front of you. And I want you to bring your left foot, you can either have the toe on the mat or you can have the feet next to your calf, or if you feel you can take it a little higher, you can bring the foot to the inside of your thigh. Get your nice drishti point, settle down your breathing, and then you can bring your hands up to heart center and just staying here nice and balanced and centered. Say 2 more breaths. Good work. And then let that left foot go down towards the mat. Give your legs a little shake. And then we'll go to the other side. So this time, opening out the toes on your left foot and moving your body in that circle. So really anchoring that left foot into the earth. You might find you have one side that you are better than the other. So you might need to tailor your right toe either onto the mat, onto your calf, or you can go higher. So you might find one side's better than the other. And then bringing your hands to heart center, looking at your drishti point. Settle down through the breath. Let's take a couple of breaths here. It's okay if you fall down and then back up. Bring your right foot back down to the mat. Nice. Okay, from here, we're going to do a little bit of stretching through our hips. Now, we're going to go into a yogi squat, which is a deep squat. It's good to have something underneath your heels when you do that. So you can use a block, might be a little high, or a blanket, or a cushion, or if you have a bolster, you can use the bolster. So just putting that, your heels on it. So your feet are fairly wide with the toes slightly out. So you're just lifting that heel up a little bit, that's good. And then coming down into that deep squat position. That's it. And then use your elbows to press the knees out a little wider. So you're getting a really nice deep squat here. So this is really good if you feel a little bit stiff through the hip area. So softening your eyes here and coming back to your breathing. You're going to stay here for 5 or 6 breaths. So just come into your center. Notice how that's feeling on your body. Gently pressing your elbows against your knees. Keeping your chest up tall if you can. Let's take 2 more breaths here. And then bringing your hands to the ground and straightening out your legs. Just push the bolster away behind you and come into forward bend. Stretching out through the back. And then from here, we're going to come down onto the mat into a seated position with our legs out nice and wide with your feet pointing towards the ceiling. So we've got some flexion in our toes, up nice and high on our sit bones. Just taking a couple of breaths here, and then we're going to use our hands and we're going to walk them forward. So just gently walking forward, keeping your chest up, keeping your gaze forward, and coming into a position that feels right for you. And just taking a couple of breaths here. And then walking both hands towards the right side. And you might like to hold on to your ankle or your toes or your calves. Take your gaze point to your toes and lengthening out through that leg. Just taking a few deep breaths here. Feeling that deep stretch through from the glutes all the way down through the hamstrings, the calves, and some flex through the ankle. And then release and coming up to tall seated position again. And then turn and face to the left side and lengthen your hands down the left leg to the same point again. Wherever is comfortable, one side might be different to the other. So you're either onto your toes or your ankles or your shins. taking your gaze to your big toe. And just taking a few deep breaths here. Notice where you're feeling that in your body and how it's feeling. 2 more breaths. And then come back up to tall seated position. Let's bring our feet in front of us, soles of our feet together. Sitting up nice and tall. Wherever's comfortable for you, you might find it's easier for you to have your feet out a little further, or you can bring them a little closer. Bringing your hands to your ankles and using your elbows just to gently press down on your knees and lengthening through the spine, lifting your chest. Just taking a few deep breaths here. This is a very good deep groin stretch. That's it. Just where it's comfortable. And then from here, we're going to release our hands and come down onto our mat with our back on the mat and placing our feet on the edge of the mat with bent knees. So coming down so you're nice and flat. You feel your lower back is nice and flat on the mat. Hands are face down on the mat. Feet are on the outside edge of your mat. And we're going to drop both knees towards the left side, like windscreen wipers, and then both knees towards the right side. And bringing our hands up to our chests. And as we do this, going from side to side, just feeling the twist and just noticing our breath. As we inhale to the center, the chest is rising. And as we exhale and take our knees to one side, it's falling. Lengthening a nice stretch through the hips here as well. Just going from side to side, just using your breath to initiate the movement. And then even up, so you've done the same amount on both sides, and place your feet back flat on the mat, just about hip width apart with your knees bent, and then slide the heels towards the buttocks. And we're going to do some bridges. So bringing our hands nice and flat on the mat, we're going to inhale, lift our hips up nice and high, squeezing through the glutes, and then bring our hands over the top and stretch out beyond our head on the floor. And then as we slowly lower our spine down like a bike chain, vertebrae by vertebrae, sweep your hands back along the floor, back to hips. Just make sure you've got enough room there. And then continue on. Just do a few more rounds. Lift, so inhale, lift all the way up. Squeeze through the glutes, lifting your hips as high as you can. Bringing your hands up over the top to the ground behind your head. And as you exhale, slowly bring your spine down to the ground, vertebrae by vertebrae. Let's go 2 more rounds. Nice big stretch for your shoulders and your hips. And 1 more round. And then hugging your knees into your chest and doing some circles, loosening any tension you might have in your lower back. Just going one way, then the other way. And then bringing your right foot down to the mat and taking your left foot across the front of the right leg into a half pigeon pose. And we're going to reach through the gap in our legs and reach and grab our hands through the thigh on the right side. Or you might find if that's a little difficult, just hugging the left shin towards the chest. Just taking some deep breaths here And noticing the stretch through the glute area. Nice flat back, just taking some deep breaths. And then releasing the hands, keeping the leg crossed at the front, placing the right foot down on the mat. Bring your hands up to cactus position and slowly take the left knee towards the right side as you take your gaze to the left. So coming into a deep stretch. Let's take about 4 breaths here. Deep stretch through the left side of the body. If you wish, you can take your right hand to your left knee and just bring it a little closer to the ground there without straining it, just nice and gentle. And 2 more breaths. And then inhale, bring both knees back to center and bring your left foot to the ground and cross over your right foot in front of your left thigh. And then we're going to bring our hands up, lift the left foot off the ground, reach to the gap in the legs and bring the legs towards our chest into a half pigeon, reverse half pigeon. And then take your attention to your glute on the right side, taking some deep breaths in. On each exhale, you might like to bring it a little closer. Softening your eyes, coming back to your breath. Then releasing your hands and letting that left foot drop to the mat. And take your hands into pigeon, or you might like to take your left hand to the right knee. Just draw that knee across to the left side as you take your gaze to the right side. So deep twist down the right side of the body. And let's stay here for 4 breaths. One more breath here. Then inhale back to center and uncross your legs and bring both knees into the chest, into asana, and release any tension. We're just rinsing out the spine after this twist we've done. So move it in a circle in one direction and then the other. And from here, we're going to do our legs up position. So there's a few ways you can do this. You can have your move close to a wall and have your legs up the wall or up the bed or the chest of drawers you have there. Or you can place a bolster or a block underneath your lower back and do a supported leg stand. Or you can go into a shoulder stand, whatever feels right for you today. It's coming into that position and softening your eyes. Let's stay here for 10 breaths. It's a nice gentle inversion. Just moving your feet around in little circles, nice and light, giving your ankles a little bit of rotation. Feeling the energy of the earth coming up through your body as your lymphatic system reverses. So all of the lymphatic fluids are coming down from your feet, down your legs, towards the lymph nodes in your, around your hip area. And you might like to take your feet out wide. Tuning back into your breath. And you might like to take your feet together and knees out like a butterfly. Taking a few more breaths here. If you're in a shoulder stand, you might like to take your feet over your head towards the floor behind your head into plow pose. And take a couple more breaths here. And then as you exhale, gently bringing your feet back to the ground and coming into Savasana. So getting yourself in a nice comfortable position. You might like to have a blanket or a pillow underneath your head. If you have a bolster, you might like to place the bolster underneath your knees. And we're going to go back into our Savasana. If you have an eye pillow, you can place that over your eyes. So getting yourself really nice and comfortable. Placing your hands either on your chest or face down on the floor beside your hips. Surrendering into Savasana. Just gently breathing. Going inward with your thoughts. Enjoying all the beautiful energy of your asana. And we're going to relax here in the silence just for another 5 minutes or so. As you're gently resting in Savasana, start to come back into the room, noticing the sounds inside the room and the sounds outside the room. Noticing the floor beneath your body and the light in the windows and the ceiling, and gently rolling to one side Taking a couple more breaths on your side. And then coming into a comfortable seated position when you're ready. Thank you for being here today with your beautiful energy for our first yoga for the year. I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe feeling a little bit more flexible now. Let's bring our hands to heart center. Just checking in with your body, noticing how you're feeling now. Noticing your body and noticing your mind, how your thoughts are. You've made time for yourself and you've started off your beautiful yoga practice for the year. Let's bring our hands to our forehead for kind thoughts and to our lips for kind words and to our heart for a kind heart. Namaste.